Action. Are we live? You're live. All right. Great. Welcome to another episode of On Air with LA Balloons. We are your hosts. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Karen.
And today we've got a special guest with us, Stephen Mayhew.
Hello, everybody.
Actually, I'm not going to say what your position is or anything. We're just going to ask you all of those things, okay? So our first official guest outside of doing the interviews from Float, we're going to get a deep dive into getting to know Stephen, what he does, a little bit about his history, and what he does now. Cool? I think Karen's got some questions.
We'll start this off. First of all, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Our very first guest, which is very exciting. Woo! First question is, can you tell us a little bit about what you do here at LA Balloons? We'll start simple.
I like that. So I am the marketing and e-commerce director at LA Balloons. And what that entails is basically anything that is shown on the website, the images, the product data, the banners, all of that stuff, that all runs through me and my department, as well as from the marketing side, anything that you guys see from email blasts and not everything on social media, because these two do a lot on social media, but sometimes it runs through my department. Trade shows, all of that type of stuff, any of the marketing that's there, that all comes through myself.
Mr. Stephen Mayhew.
Yes.
Now, question. Now, you mentioned you have a team now, but how long ago was it that you started doing the marketing for LA Balloons, and how long have you actually worked for LA Balloons?
Well, technically, I have worked for LA Balloons since 2005 because LA Balloons used to be owned by Conwin when it was just Conwin. And when I was hired to be working for Conwin in 2005, I was doing all of their graphic design work for LA Balloons and stuff like that. So I officially am the longest working employee for the company.
And now you transitioned later on, right? So when LA Balloons became under new ownership, did your position change to become the marketing director and e-commerce director?
Well, technically, yes and no. So basically, the entire time that LA Balloons was under the old ownership, I was doing all the marketing for it, and I was doing all the data importing for it. But it was just myself. It was a one-man show, and I had a graphic designer ultimately because I kind of moved up to be the art director there, and then ultimately the marketing director and creative director and blah 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 blah. But so my position, I think, when I moved over under the new ownership, really became more robust. As you guys know, we have our hands in a lot of pots here and working on a bunch of different things. So it's very much like, yeah, I work on the website and yeah, I work on the data and marketing, but it also is like, hey, you need help. We need help picking orders because it's a crazy weekend or whatever it might be. So we all help out here.
So how did it really change? So it became more robust in that 2014, 2015 area. Did we already have a website then that you built upon?
Yeah, you mean when I first started back at the old ownership?
Oh, no, here.
Here? Oh, it was completely scrapped. So when I transferred over here, the new site was being built already, but it was nothing like what it is now. And so we had really, from the moment when I moved over, we completely transitioned everything out. So what you see now is a brand new site compared to what it used to be. But even 3 years ago, it was a different back end. And so it's much more functional. It works faster.
1,000 features.
Oh, yeah. There's a ton of different options that we make available for customers. So that way it's easier to shop the website.
But for the first couple of years, you were the only one building all of that stuff out, right?
It was myself and I had a graphic designer. So it was just the two of us. Yeah, I remember Nolan.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
You have more people on your team now.
I do. I have 3 amazing staff members that work for me that manage the graphic, that create the graphic design, that run the product data, that does the web design. And so the 4 of us, we're a great team.
You are. You guys are very helpful with everything, and I'm sure they know it. We shouted out Caesar on our last episode because of all his graphic designing, and you also have 2 other guys that are very, very helpful. So shout out to your entire team. Prior to being at Conwin and just working with everything, what were you doing, and what is it that, made you come into the balloon industry?
Interesting question. So I've been in the balloon industry for 24 years. So my first job I was a children's entertainer when I was 16, maybe technically 15, but 16 legally. And so what I would do is, this is when I lived in Arizona, in Phoenix, is I would go out to children's birthday parties and I would dress up as Spider-Man or Batman or Santa Claus.
I can completely see you as Spider-Man.
And that was the best one. That was the best one. Because I was great with my body and I could move around. A 5'6" kid with a really high voice trying to pull off Batman or Santa Claus wasn't that appealing. However, all the kids enjoyed it. But I would go in and there were 3 things I would do. I would do balloon twisting, I would do a little magic show, and then I would do face painting. And so when I came out to Los Angeles to initially act, I realized I didn't really enjoy the face painting as much, and I really didn't want to do magic, and it just wasn't my forte. But I really, for whatever reason, enjoyed doing the balloon animals, and so I started off doing balloon animals at like the farmers market in Studio City, and then got hired to go to kids' parties to make balloon animals at their parties, and then kind of took off from there.
Very cool. Oh, that's interesting. So I didn't even know about the magician part, to be honest.
Yeah.
It was very simple tricks. It was, let's see, like, I'm trying to remember this is things that you would get like at the magic shop. And all of our customers who are magicians watching this, I'm sure they'll be like, oh, that's an old trick. But things from like, trick hats that have like a bottom that drops out that you can pull stuff out of. A coloring book that you would show has all the line drawings in the book as you flip through it, but when you flip through it a different way, there were blank pages, and so it looked like you had magically made all the lines disappear in the book. But imagine being in a Barney suit, which was another character that I was, and you'd have to do a magic trick to remove the gloves, so you had human hands to perform this trick, with like the book, because you couldn't do that with mittens.
Yeah.
It was...
You were in a Barney suit?
I was in a Barney suit.
Do you know who Barney is, Karen?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, no. Like, I know who Barney is, but I thought you meant like who was in the suit.
Oh,
no, I don't know.
I was like, I can't believe you don't know.
Well, in Phoenix, Arizona, it was, if you were having a party back in the 90s, guess what? It was probably me.
No.
I know who
I used to
Barney is.
love Barney. He was Barney the dinosaur. He would just be on the TV. Like, I'd be playing or doing whatever, and he'd just be on the screen. And
It was a great kid show.
Yeah.
And who knew? We could have hired Steven.
But the outfit wasn't officially licensed, so it was awful looking.
Oh.
It looked like just.
We need to find a picture of this, I feel like, and like
I hope
plop it up here somewhere.
I hope there's not. I don't even know if I have any of them.
Wait, so you are originally from Arizona?
Yes, I was born in Utah, up in Salt Lake City, and then had a quick stint in Florida for 2 years, and then ultimately lived in Phoenix, like through my teenage years.
Okay, and then being in Arizona, that's when you started doing like the twisting and all that, or was that not until you came to LA?
No, it was when I was in Arizona. I was doing the children's entertainer side of it, which was the small portion of it, twisting, when I was in Phoenix.
And then being here in LA, you did actually do some acting though, right?
I did do acting, yes.
Were you in some movies or anything like that?
I was in a couple TV shows and a glorified extra in some other bigger movies that you would know, like Old School and
Old School.
Like that. You remember that?
Yes.
It's an old movie, Old School.
It's Will Ferrell.
Yes.
That's right. I forgot. We've looked this up. We found the spot that you're in.
Yes.
You have?
I'm in, funny enough, I'm in a lot of spots towards the end, like halfway through the movie. Like anytime they ever show the pledges, I'm there. When Will Ferrell is burned after jumping through the ring and he's in the locker room. I'm in that shot. I'm in the shot when he does the
We're
ribbons.
going to find all of these
I have
shots and go pop, 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 pop.
There he is. I was much younger. I was like 17, 18 at the
I have
time.
to go see this because I don't think I've ever actually seen when you're actually like in the movie.
No, really?
No, I don't think so.
There was
Yeah.
also a soap opera that you were in.
Yes. Funny enough, we're actually, I've been taking all of the VHS tapes that my parents had and been like digitizing them. And I came across all of the episodes of Days of Our Lives when I was on it. So I had a role. There was a role where I actually had lines and I had like a whole scene. But then they brought me back as a lurking figure. And then that transitioned. If anybody watches Days of Our Lives, especially in the early, like 2002, 3, 4, they had a whole scene or a whole storyline where this lurking figure started showing up and then turned into a killer and started killing off all of the people, all the main characters from the show. And guess who the lurking figure / killer was? It was me. It was me behind the mask.
That is so cool.
Oh my
It's funny.
gosh. Yeah.
Hold on. Can we go down the list? Because now we know that you're a magician, you're a balloon twister, you're great with graphic design and art and web development, obviously. But there's some other talents that you have. I'm sure actually one of the most notable is dancing. What else does Stephen Mayhew do? Because I will put it out there, and we've mentioned it before. Stephen is probably the most talented person that I've ever met. And
Well, I appreciate that.
I'm not joking. It's just that
You have not met a lot of people then, because I think I'm the most talented
I've
person.
met a lot of people from coast to coast, and people are very good at this thing or that thing, or they can do 2 or 3 hobbies. But I mean, your list just keeps going. So what else are your hobbies? What else are you into
Multi-talented.
outside of these things that we just mentioned?
You know what's funny is I really enjoy balloons, funny enough. So when people ask me, they're like, "Oh, well, what do you do for a living?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a marketing commerce director for a balloon distributor." They're always like, "Wow, oh my gosh. Well, like, what do you do in your spare time?" I do balloons. Well, what do you mean? Like, because I create, different, like the children's book that I came out with, the ABC balloon book. Each of these projects and books that I create, they just take a long time. But when I leave here, I go home and then I actually start working with balloons when I'm at home in my workshop.
Oh.
And so here, I'm not working with balloons too much. I'm working with designs or an image of a balloon. But when I actually go home, I'm working with the balloons and creating designs and stuff like that.
For those of you that don't know, we have on laballoons.com, if you type in ABC Balloon Book, you will find Steven's book on there, and you can see all of the images that he has. And it's a book from A to Z, and every single letter on there is an animal, right? And it's all made out of balloons, and it is so cool to see. And you also have your videos on YouTube, right? Where
Yeah.
I don't know if you have some with like those specific characters, but you have like the Stewie one that you made.
Yeah.
So I thought that one was really cool. And there's a bunch of different designs on there, and you guys can see them. And we'll show pictures on here, and we'll also put the link so that you guys can check out the book and then check out the videos. So do you want to talk to us a little bit about how you came up with that idea of the book and just all the designs?
Yeah, so the book really stemmed from kind of what I was just talking about, working in marketing and, database work and stuff like that for the website. It's not that creative in regards to like an artist and, painting and actually getting your hands on whatever the medium is to create. And this was back when I was working for Conlin. I was looking for a creative outlet, and I came across this greeting card. This is how the book started. I came across this greeting card with these 2 little owls on it, and it was a mother owl and a baby owl. And I thought that would look really fun and cute as a balloon. And so I thought, okay, what would I do with that? What, I'm just going to make some balloon owls. And then within like a week or two, I had kind of concocted this idea. What if I make a children's book, just an alphabet book to make it really simple, where it was the parent animal, like made out of balloons, and then the baby animal made out of balloons. And I thought that would be really cute because then you can kind of see, the baby and the parent. That quickly got out of control real quick. Because like, if you actually look in the book, there's some pages that have two animals, like the baby and the parent. Mm-hmm. That was early on because I quickly realized, this is going to take way too long. So I then decided to just stick to one animal. And so that was ultimately, it took me about 7 years to be able to finish the entire book.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Because it was at night. It was on the weekends when I was working on it. It wasn't my 9-to-5 job. So,
but still, I mean, you dedicated a lot of time and effort and like to stick to kind of finishing that process through. That's still pretty awesome.
It was fun. There was this mantra that I kept in the back of my mind, which would get me through some really long nights, and just say, like, just keep going. Just keep going. Mm-hmm. And you're tired and you're questioning your life. Why am I making balloon animals at 2 a.m. in the morning? I have to be to work tomorrow at 9. But for whatever reason, it really helped me, and that's kind of the mantra I use now when I'm making designs or whatever it might be.
Did you always have it in your mind that like you were making all of these things specifically for a book, and like the end result was going to be a book that you were going to put out and into the world?
That was my plan.
Okay.
And because what I would do is I download the photo onto my phone, and then I had an album specifically with the completed images. And I would be like, okay, so I've got, I still have to do Q and I still have to do S. And I would jump around making the animals. And so it always was, the idea was to release it as an actual book, but keeping in mind, because I knew that the balloon industry would at least see it. And so I think it took so long because I was so nervous about making sure everything was perfect. Everything was truly a balloon. And that I couldn't, the people wouldn't look at it and be like, well, okay, well, that's not a balloon. And it's like, well, no, actually, if you're in the balloon industry, you look at it, you go, oh, that's an apple twist. Oh, that's a tulip twist. Oh, and you can actually pick out how I created it.
So you just mentioned your mantra. So just keep going. Is that still your mantra today? Because you made this book years ago. And if not, what is your mantra? Or do you have some sort of quote or thing that you kind of go back to, moving into more of our normal segment with things to make Claire and think?
Now we're going to make you think.
Perfect. Now it's for Steven.
I would say that is still my mantra. I would say I have two mantras. I have a joke mantra and I have my serious mantra. My serious mantra is just keep going. My joke mantra is, and I'm not a singer, but I'll do my best here. It's not that difficult. Figure it out. Kind of helps you keep going.
I thought you had heard that from somewhere, so that's why you said it. But you came up with it.
No, I came up with it. I mean, maybe somebody had said it before, but it just hit me one day, and I was like, it's not that difficult. Figure it out.
Somebody has the same jingle as you. Maybe.
Who does?
No, I'm just saying. That'd be funny if somebody
I want a copywritten date and trademark status.
Well.
Do you have anything that you tell yourself that you kind of refer to as like a personal?
I don't have a jingle, but something that I do say is just
motivate yourself, I guess, or keep going.
Yeah.
It would be everything happens for a reason. That is something that I think of when something, whether it doesn't go my way or something just randomly happens. I think it's. How do I say it, developed, I guess, over the years, where I try to be more positive now. And so I refer back to that and I say, like, everything happens for a reason. And that is, I just try to see, like, the better side to it. So I don't know if you know, actually, but on Friday, I had a big bolt, like, nail in my tire.
What?
And I had,
like, it was like this.
It was
big.
Huge, yeah.
When you came to work or on your way home?
When I left, yeah.
No joke.
So,
that was the biggest.
Yeah, so usually I'm out of here by 5 o'clock. And that day I happened to be here till 6:30. And so, yeah. And so thankfully, Andrew was still here on Friday and Liz had come by and like, they were like heading out and I was like, okay, bye. And so I get in my car, I'm driving off, I'm like a block away. And then the tire just like, my dashboard starts saying like, hey, yeah. It's like your tire is like low pressure. So then I call him and I was like, because he had just checked my tires recently. And I was like, did you by any chance like
See
see
anything?
anything? Yeah. And then he was like, no. And I was like, what?
Outside of the fact that your tires are bald.
Wait, well, hold on. You have not had this car that long.
That's what I said. I'm like, how are you driving?
This one's the little old lady from Pasadena over here just gunning it and slamming on her brakes.
I was like, these shouldn't be worn out yet.
Yeah, well, I ended up calling him and I was like, whatever. Because the dealership had basically told me, I went to get it like a maintenance thing. Okay. And so they had said like, you need this type of filter, that type of filter, and you need new tires, alignment, whatever. I ended up calling him and then I was just like, you know what? Like, did you see anything? He's like, no. And so I had plans that day. And so that happened. And I was like, you know what? Everything happens for a reason. So I didn't make it to my plans, but my tire, so it's fine. But like, I literally was just like, oh, okay, well, so moral of the story is that that's what I go off of. And I just say like, everything happens for a reason. And that's what I like to use.
I think that's great because it's very positive and,
so
it's it's a great way to get through life sometimes because that's all you can do.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, at that point, there's not much more to do. So that's what I like to do. But what about you? Do you have this?
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot, but like I will say that it's the one thing I'll tell myself, and I don't know why I'm saying it's in plural, but I say, let's go. Like, if there's a lot of things going on one time, and like, I don't know, and I know I try to, you guys don't really see me stressed, so to speak, and most people don't, but internally, like, it still happens, and like, let's just say there's like 10 things or 5 things, and I get 2 things done, I'm gonna clap and go, let's go. And I say it to myself, and it's not with anybody else, and I'm not looking around, and it doesn't have to be a team project, but like, I don't know why, but that's kind of my go-to saying. In terms of like a mantra, yours is what I used to go by. Everything happens for a reason. I do think I pulled from that more so when things were more difficult and I was trying to give myself a reason as to why I was going through more difficult things.
Yeah.
Now, there's probably 2 mantras, I guess. I think by us, like thoughts become things, which I truly, truly believe. And what's the other one? Only those who risk are free. Those would be the things. So like,
I might steal a couple of those.
But, a lot of times you have to take a risk in order to get a certain reward or certain thing. And like, for me, like even coming into LA Balloons being like a smaller private company and not being like this corporate company with a structure and like, a ladder to kind of work your way up, in my mind, it was a risk. Like, am I going to shift my career in this way where I join a small team of sub 20 people and see if we can help grow it? I guess I have gained a lot of positive experiences and positive learnings, and I actually would say freedom from joining LA Balloons.
So what you're saying is you don't regret it.
I do not.
Okay, good.
The relationships, the businesses, the things that how I've seen it grow, the things I've learned. There's so many positive things from it. But yeah, I guess there's hardly a lot. I like looking up these different types of quotes and see how they can kind of apply. But also it reminds me, like, when I say only those who risk are free, like even now, like you take a risk on an investment, you take a risk on starting something new. Even as we're going through evolving our site and like the product offerings that we do and how we do things.
My question was going to be, you talked about how you do balloons, like you did the animals and all that. Mm-hmm. Did you ever get into doing like arches and columns and all of that
decor
stuff?
Yes. So when I came out here and was acting, I found that it was and I started doing the balloon animals. I found that it was great to open it. Well, first off, I found LA Balloons. That was the big eye opener for me, is finding LA Balloons in a place where you could buy one bag of all one color. So I was like, there's got to be some place out there, because I was buying it from some place, from some party shop in the Valley, just like a mixed bag of 260s.
Oh.
And so then I walk into LA Balloons and I'm like, oh my gosh, this place is insane. And then I started looking at the art on the walls, and I started talking to the staff there and being like, well, how do you get into this? And so they really helped me kind of take my first steps to figuring out how to start a balloon decorating business. And then what I would do is I would go on auditions during the weekdays and go out and meet with clients. And then on the weekends, I would go set up the jobs, all the balloon jobs. So it worked out to be perfect because I was doing my acting and I was able to run my balloon decorating business. And then when I sold that, that's when I went and started working for Conwin.
Oh.
So there was that period of time when I was twisting and doing balloon decor and all that fun stuff.
Oh, actually, okay. So back from our first episode or second episode, we played a little bit of a game, which was like this or that.
Yeah.
So, in light of your experience and having been in the balloon industry longer than me and Karen, do you prefer modeling balloons and twisting, classic decor, or organic decor?
I think whatever I'm going to say here, I'm going to get people who hate me.
I don't think so.
I think that there is a space for all of it.
But you got to pick one.
But I will. However, I will say that organic decor is my favorite. When it comes to actual, just, me not doing my balloon animals for my books and stuff like that, or for my videos. But as a decorator, organic decor is so different and so against the grain of what we were all taught that, classic decor, all the balloons have to be the same size. There's a space for that, but organic decor, you're able to cover such a large space with a medium that is inexpensive for people to be able to purchase and be able to set up. It's very labor intensive, but I think out of the three, organic decor, because of the designs that you can create and how much space you can cover and really transform a venue.
Do you prefer helium balloons
Air.
or air balloons? It's air. You already have air. Okay.
Just because helium has its space, but it's more expensive than it used to be. You got to lug around a helium tank. I mean, I remember I used to do parties and set up jobs at the Queen Mary, which is a big boat that's down in Long Beach. And my sister at the time was helping me. And so we had to carry, because their elevators had gone down because the boat had shifted. So their elevators stopped working. So I had to go to the second floor to get to the ballroom with the 291. And I had to go up the stairs with my sister, who's like half of the weight that I am. And so she has the front of the helium tank and I have the back. And we literally had to huff it up the staircase that goes around. And we got momentum going and then just barreled through into the ballroom with this 291 tank. And so if I wouldn't have to be carrying around a tank or transporting it, getting it filled and all the rest of the stuff, I would definitely say air. But again, there's a space for helium when you need it.
Okay. And those things are 134 pounds.
They're
and that
heavy.
is solid,
Yeah.
5 feet tall. Okay. And do you have a favorite balloon artist? Doesn't matter if they do classic, organic, modeling balloons.
See, you two are the ones on social media so much. So you see all of
Or, okay, on the opposite side, is there anyone who inspired you or whose work inspired you as you were kind of growing up?
Ricky Martin.
Okay, well, that's a whole different story. Dancing wise, yes, Ricky Martin, but he was the reason why I tried to learn Spanish.
Ew.
That failed miserably, I'll tell you.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually surprised you don't know Spanish.
I don't know. And I took 3 years of it in high school.
Oh, really?
So you don't know what me debes un gato means?
I heard this because you guys brought it up on one of the last episodes, right? Something about, gato, right, is cat.
Sure.
So I have a gray cat.
You owe me a cat.
But you owe me a cat. Okay, all right.
We're going to add you to the School of Spanish here at LA Balloons.
Yeah.
So
I would be down for it, actually.
you would be our second student.
I am able to pick
Hola.
up more now.
There.
So I am I can understand it slightly more, even though It's definitely not coming out fluently.
It's really about being around people just who's constantly speaking it. Because when I was down in Mexico City, I was teaching down there years ago. That was the one time in my life when I actually could kind of speak it, but I truly understood it. And I was having conversations with people, like students, and I was like, I'm getting it. And then I got back and
Karen only speaks Spanish when she's gossiping around here, so
That is not
she
true.
withholds the Spanish.
so when you hear Karen speaking Spanish, the dirt is going down.
Just kidding.
No, I switch back and forth between Spanish and English, but a lot of the staff speak Spanish, so that's why sometimes we're just like going back and forth in Spanish, and then sometimes we'll just switch and it's like English, and sometimes, the gossip in Spanish is just a lot better. There's just certain things that don't translate in Spanish from Spanish to English, but I switch back and forth all the time. So.
That's fine. You are our Spanish expert.
Oh,
Yes.
try it.
Okay. And then, is there someone who inspired you, like, in the balloon industry?
Absolutely. I would say there's a lot of people who are amazing designers. There are, can I say two people?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first one would be Sue Bowler. So Sue used to work for Conwin. She was the education director. And if she watches this, I sure hope that I got it right. But so I would work with her all the time, and her husband, John. And I had her on this pedestal. I still do, but I had her on this pedestal. And then we were going to balloon camp one time, which was an old event that took place in Vegas. And the owner of Conwin back then wanted me to teach with Sue. And I was just like, I don't know if this is going to be a good idea. She's so good. And she is the sweetest, nicest person in the world. She's so skilled, knows her stuff, knows how to sell balloon decor, knows how to explain to a student how to sell the decor. She's knowledgeable in the balloon industry, and she's just a nice woman. So she'd be my first one. And then the second would be Linda Bruce. And Linda used to be the education director for Pioneer many years ago. She's passed now. But this woman, she was like everybody's, at least for me, she was like my grandmother in the balloon industry. And she just was so sweet. I also got a chance to speak with her, or not speak with her, of course, speak with her, but teach with her. And she traveled everywhere, and everybody knew this woman. And she just connected with people and who were just getting into balloons especially, and made it seem feasible. She really just knew how to break things down and make it easy for people to understand. And she also just was a hoot. She was hilarious and fun. And so, yeah. Anyway, so those would be my two people that I would say who have inspired me.
Sue actually taught a class for us a few years back. So I got to meet her, and I got to assist her a little bit when she was teaching the class. So I agree. She's a very, very sweet person, and learned a lot from that day, actually, myself. Okay. And then the last thing I have for you, in terms of our this or that and questions for Steven, tough text colors. We want to find out what kind of tough text color Steven is. So before you think about the colors.
I already thought about it, but okay.
Oh.
I came prepared. I listened to this podcast.
I will give you two colors, and you just say which one you like better, and then we'll see where you kind of end up.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. We go this route. I don't just say it. Okay.
All right. Empowerment and cameo.
Empowerment.
Blue slate, cameo. Oh, I'm sorry, empowerment. Blue slate or empowerment?
Blue slate.
Blue slate or fog?
Blue slate.
Blue slate or blush?
Blue slate.
Blue slate or meadow?
Meadow is very pretty, but I would still say blue slate.
Blue slate or Georgia?
Blue slate.
Blue slate or stone?
Blue slate.
Oh, okay. Blue slate or Romy?
Blue slate.
Blue slate, pearl midnight blue.
Blue slate.
Is blue slate your favorite color?
Slate is my favorite color.
Is that actually your
It actually was.
Oh,
I thought about it and I was like, if I have to pick one color from Tough Texas line, what would it be? And I thought blue slate because it's like blue is my favorite color to begin with.
Sure.
But the blue mixed with a little bit of the gray, it's just such a different color and tone. I just immediately came to mind and I was like, yeah, no, it'd be blue slate.
That's my second favorite color.
Yeah.
Well, I'm cameo blue slate, but I always say cameo first because I always just tend to gravitate towards cameo. But blue slate is definitely my favorite blue, and it's like 1.5 second on my list always. But
If it was a race.
yeah, if it was a race, I'd be like,
Cameo.
one day it could be blue slate, another day it could be cameo. But I do kind of lean towards cameo a little bit.
You're a blue slate. What did you say? I was a blossom girl.
You're a blossom girl.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Blue
Okay.
slate boy.
Blue slate boy. I like that. All right. That needs to be. There you go. There's an idea for you, Allison, at Tough Text. You need to have different names like that.
Yeah.
I'm a cameo guy, I think. Cute. All
A cool cameo guy.
I have one last question for you. Okay. My question is, you've talked about how you have moved around from Arizona and all these places. You've tried acting. You've tried the balloon, what is it called?
Decorating.
Entertaining. Yes,
Entertaining,
entertaining. Magic and all of that stuff.
I wouldn't really say magic. It was. This was not Magic Castle level magic. I
My
was
takeaway
performing.
from this interview is Steven is a magician.
Yeah, let's not start that rumor.
Well, you've gone through all of these different phases, I guess, if that's the appropriate word. What advice would you give to somebody that is trying to figure out what it is that they want to do in terms of like their career, their business, anything along
I
those
was
lines?
thinking the same thing.
Were you?
I was. Something along those lines, but because of your work history, I was like, do you have any advice or what are your thoughts on your transition from there to what you do now?
Yeah.
I think honestly, it comes back to my mantra: just keep going, because a lot of people, and I do this as well. I'm not skilled at sticking to something all the time, but I think a lot of people, myself included, start something and it could be that it's a project, it's an art project, I'm starting a balloon business or whatever it might be. And after a couple weeks into it, or maybe a month or 6 months, you start second guessing yourself. You start thinking, is this really what I should be doing? But all of the people who succeed stuck with it, because you own the concept of success is that it's like the iceberg, right? That of how they describe it is that you see somebody else's success as being just the tip of the iceberg, but everything below, the rest of the iceberg down below, that's all the hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears, the hours of questioning yourself, or days worth of questioning yourself in some cases, happens to me. And so you can't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare yourself to that tiny little iceberg, the tip that you see at the top of that's above the ocean or water level. You have to just stay in your, I don't want to say stay in your lane. You have to stick with what it is that you're doing. And if you're happy doing it overall, you need to stick with it. And if you're not happy doing it, then you need to do something else. That would be my recommendation.
That is really good advice.
Thoughts from Steven.
So, what is your definition of success?
You guys have talked about this before, right?
I was like, have we?
We brought up the topic in general.
Yeah, we
But,
have.
you know, obviously that can be very subjective. I think a lot of people think of it as an objective thing, like that person is successful, but really that's your opinion, and that person might not feel that way. And is that in comparison to yourself or someone else next to them? So what would be your definition of success for Stephen Mayhew?
About myself, correct? And not about like success as a whole for everybody. Okay. So I have questions.
Sure.
You're saying how would I define my success? Or like what's my...
How would you define success?
Just in general.
Yeah, but I guess to you, what does success mean to you?
I think success is finding happiness And it might be that for some people, happiness is love. Some people, it is a career that they really enjoy. Making at least enough money to be able to survive, making millions of dollars. I think that it really is about the person's happiness. And if you're happy, you found some level of success.
Okay, so 2 parts to this question. So with regards to what you just said, then do you think that you're successful, or do you consider yourself successful? So essentially, I'm asking, are you happy?
I'm happy in elements of my life. I think certain elements of my life I've found success, and others I haven't. But I also don't want, pardon me, I don't want to look at it and go, well, I'm not successful. And, and it's a downer. I like to continuously push myself. Mm-hmm. And so will I always just keep doing what I'm doing right now? No, because I get bored. Sure. And I go, I want to try something different. But I would say, that's a loaded question. That's a hard one.
Isn't it? It's only because you answered it in that way, though. Because I don't know if I was going to move into that question, because I do have another question to answer that.
I wonder if the next question is the same one that I'm thinking.
Oh.
Okay. I would say I am not to where I want to be, and I'm working towards it. But overall, I'm happy, I would say.
Do you think that, okay, so then I guess the second part to this question is, you said that success is finding some level of happiness, or it's tied to happiness, right? Is it happiness and or purpose? So how would you kind of, correlate purpose, happiness, and success?
These are deep thoughts by Andrew Simon. How would I correlate it? I would say that I think by finding your purpose, you can find happiness.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah.
Because if you don't have a purpose, as small or as large as it might be, I think that you could still find happiness without having a purpose, but I think that you do feel more fulfilled when you feel like you found your purpose, at least for that time in your life.
Mm-hmm. How do you find your purpose?
That's hard.
This thought just came to mind, but I know that that's a hard one. And I know a lot of people, I had mentioned this again, and I'm going to mention it again. Deandra's videos on how she kind of got into it. And there are videos of people saying this is how you find your purpose. And it really is through trial and error. And so it kind of connects back to you trying your acting and doing the entertainment and the magic.
I'm never going to hear the end of this.
Forget the magic.
I'm going to start bringing the little tricks for you guys. And be and here's some flowers.
But yeah, I guess that was my thought. But my other question, which wasn't the question that you had, was, I don't remember how you phrased it, but you asked me in the last episode, I think, do you feel like you've made an impact? Was that the question?
Do you feel like you've made a positive impact on the world, or you make a positive impact on the world?
Wow, these are some really deep questions. I've been on podcasts before, but they never asked me this stuff. Wow, this is life-altering. Do I feel like I've made an impact?
A positive impact.
A positive impact.
Or do you?
Yes. And for the small reach that I've had in my life and the people who I've, connected with, I feel like, actually, you know what? I hope I have. I can't guarantee that I have.
Stephen,
you have.
I respectfully disagree with you. and I'm not blowing smoke up anything. Okay. But you definitely 110% have made a positive impact in the world. Well, okay. And I'm going to say that as proof with all the people who come up to you and thank you for all the help that you've done over the years, for the things that you've taught them, even the things that you've taught me when I got introduced into the balloon industry, what you've done for this business, what you've done interpersonally, and I know you as a person and as a friend. So yes, I think one, just in your answer, and I know you're trying to dig deep and think am I a good person, or do I make a positive impact? Do those little things matter? Little big, small, medium, it doesn't matter. In the grand scheme of things, it's no question in my mind that in totality, that you are 100% a good person and that you have left a positive impact, not a negative impact, through your book, through your education, through your relationships. But it is a question, obviously, that I asked you just to kind of like internally think. But it's not a question in my mind on whether or not you're doing good things or you're doing negative things or you're actually standing by neutral. You're not in the neutral side. And the world is a better place that Stephen has been here so far.
Wow.
I will say that.
Well, in my dark times, when I have it, when I go deep into my head, I'm going to pull out this podcast and listen to this. I appreciate that. That really means a lot.
I
But
agree.
it is truly 110% how I feel. And again, like I said, you're a very talented person. And a talented person doesn't need to be a good person or leave a positive impact. And you have used your talents and your skills and your brain and everything, in a positive way.
Thank you.
So
That really means a lot.
I agree with everything that he has said.
Where are the tissues on set?
I
It's
agree
supposed to
with
be a balloon
everything.
podcast.
And just want to add on that these staff as well, also, I don't think they tell you this very much, but they think very highly of you.
Really?
And yeah, they do. And I'll include myself in there because every time you walk in here, I don't think I've ever seen you with like it's Monday or anything. Of course, yes, like whatever, like it's Monday, but even then you're just
That's because I say that all in my office, and I just shut the door and I scream. And
you have this little pep in your step, and the staff is always like, Stephen is always so positive, and Stephen is always so funny, and Stephen this and Stephen that, and they don't tell you, I think, because you're always busy in your office, but they are always just like, Stephen's a great guy, like Stephen's really funny, and so just know that you might not hear it every day, but we think it all the time. And like he said, it's not just us that work with you. It is literally the entire balloon industry. And just, it's been great to know you. And
Thank you.
yeah, so.
And it spreads. Like, it feels like it's only like, oh, this person, this, or it's not that big of a deal to you, but it's that big of a deal to that person. And if they can go out and 6 degrees separation, like, it kind of moves out. So that's where, like, in my thought process, like I said, I think you've left a much bigger impact than you're giving yourself credit for.
You're famous in my books.
I greatly appreciate that. That truly means a lot. I feel like this is an intervention. The staff has been concerned about me, and so that's the whole reason why they're having me on the podcast. No, you guys, I really appreciate that. And
If you don't have any quick questions for us,
I did. I had a question. Now I can't remember what it was.
That's okay.
Yeah, I do have a question for you guys. You each have been in the industry for anywhere from 5 to 7 years. What is it that keeps you here, but also interested in balloons? Because you don't just do your job; you actually truly enjoy the industry. What is it that for you two that keeps you excited about balloons in the industry?
Should I go? Should you go?
if you have your answer, I can go.
Oh, I have my answer. Do you
Go
have your
ahead.
answer? The thing that comes to mind to me is not only am I able to to do my job on a daily basis, but when you think of balloons and you're in this industry, I've been able to really see that there's a lot more than just a balloon column, a balloon like bouquet, anything like that. And I think it's the people that are in this industry as well as the creative freedom that it allows you with to be in with the colors and the shapes and the sizes and all of that. So I think it's just overall, 1, the people, and then 2, just the creative freedom that you can do with being in this industry. So
For me, it is constantly being inspired by all of these small businesses that we see and meet every single day, and seeing them start from nothing and then quitting their 9 to 5 and then having this whole business. And then the other thing would be continual growth. It's happened every year, it happens every week, it happens every month, and we grow in a different way, whether it's interpersonally, whether it's the offerings, but you want to see that growth progression. And that kind of motivates me just to keep going, and I don't see why anything would change unless that were to stop. But our time is about to run out in how many seconds is that?
20 seconds. Ready?
All right. So
All
we
right.
are going to see you next time. Thank you, Steven,
Thank you for having me.
Thanks,
on our
Steven.
podcast.
Yeah.
And
Shout out to Tough Techs for sponsoring this video and the podcast. And once again, this was Stephen Mayhew. And thank you so much again for being here with us.
Thank you, you guys.
See you guys on the next one. Bye.
bye.